your girl Beauty87 here, and decided we would dive into some holiday palettes of past. So y'all know I buy just about every year the Pat McGrath holiday collection if I don't buy anybody else's holiday collection. So I figured we could talk about some holiday palettes from past when it came to Pat McGrath. So I have my two I bought from 2018, the Bronze Temptation and the Dark Star, and I figured we could talk about the difference between them and this new Mothership Mega Celestial Divinity palette. So let's get started. I'm going to add in the quads at the end because I have to wait for the other quads to get here and actually shoot the video for you all. So you have to wait till we get to all that. You're gonna have to wait. If you're curious what's on my eyes, I did another palette mashup with the Kaleidos palettes. I only had to do one more. I needed to do one with the Escape Pod and the new Lunar Lavender palette. So that is what is on the eyes right now. I did film it, of course, because we just love a good palette mashup here. So you will see that coming to a YouTube channel near you very soon. When, I don't know. And if you're curious what's on my lips, I have on This Is Nude from Essence, number 5. And then I just put Divine Rose on top, especially since that's one of my all-time favorite Pat McGrath glosses. I like Bronze Temptation and Divine Rose. And it's funny because each one of them have a palette in addition to a lip color. I thought that was something funny to point out. But anyway, let's get started on these palettes after I have rambled for almost 2 minutes now about what's on my face. So I bought these two. I didn't buy the third one. There were 3 palettes that came with it, but it just wasn't a vibe for me. Like the other one was an all metallic palette and it wasn't really calling my name. Not to mention it looks really similar to this 2020 palette that I will break out in a little bit. But right now we want to start with 2018 and, you know, move our way forward. I'm just trying to take the palette out the box so it can be ready. Because as you all know, if you're a really Pat McGrath stan, you know that this is the packaging and the packaging is the palette. So open it up so you can see. This one to me kind of mimics the what's that palette, the Decadence palette. That's what this packaging reminds me of. It makes me think of the Decadence palette if it was in red packaging. This is what the inside of the palette looks like. If you all forgot, I actually recently did a palette mashup with this palette and the new Mega palette, just to be able to do some more palette matches with my Pat McGrath, because I feel like my Pat McGraths don't get used as much as they should for the price I paid. So it's like whenever I can palette mash up something, I'll be trying, child. But the quality of this palette I don't like as well as some of her other palettes. And Morgan Turner agrees with me about this particular palette. Like this shade right here, just totally disappointed because you see it's red at the pan, but when I turn it this way where I am, it's orange. It's like, I just wanted a red mother. It's supposed to be a Christmas palette. Why couldn't you just let it be red and make something else shift? This one shifts as well. The champagne has like, I think a reddish, like bluish brown type of undertone to it. So these two shift and the rest of the colors are exactly the way they're supposed to be. Whatever color you see is what it is. But it's like, I was disappointed in this palette for that reason. Not to mention, I felt like the mattes didn't blend as smooth. Like this dark brown, I don't feel like it blends as smooth as other stuff I have from her. So I don't have a problem admitting when Pat McGrath doesn't have a good palette. It's just, it damn near never happens. So it's like, I don't have to, because, you know, mother just be on it. But this palette I do still like better than the other other one she came out with that I didn't buy. I think it's called Metamorphosis or something like that. It literally just has 6 shimmer shadows. And it looks really similar to that gold Star Wars palette that she had, the small one that's in the mega one. But overall, I would say this was a good palette. It's just, you know, she has other palettes that are better. And aside from the fact that the red not being a true red and then this being more on the neutral side with a whole bunch of like champagne-y gold type things, and the only thing that truly sparked me with this palette was like the green. And you know, I got plenty of green and blue and purple shadows, so I didn't really need it. It was just more of, out of the 3 she had to offer, these were the 2 that I prefer. Now I feel like you already seen the outside of this and you know what time it is with this palette. This is a blue palette, and this is what it looks like on the inside. So this is what the inside of the packaging looks like. It is, as you can see, a dark lover's dream. Y'all know I love to have me a dark smoky eye, so this palette just works perfectly for me. This blue shade, I feel like it has kind of a shift in it, because when you look at it, it's blue, but when I look at it, it's purple, and it has like blue and glitter particles in it. This shade wasn't too exciting to me. I mean, I like the gray, but I feel like it doesn't necessarily serve a purpose in here, because you have the gray and the black and then a whole bunch of golds. I don't see the purpose of the golds in here, because I'm like, if it's supposed to be a smoky, grungy palette, it would have made more sense for this to be a silver, and then maybe that to be like the champagne like it is, so that way she can still have some of that gold she likes to put in, since she's so obsessed with gold. But like, this one I don't reach for as much, just because I feel like this should be a silver instead of a gold, and then that could have just been whatever color it is. So it's like I didn't necessarily like the way the color story of this one was curated either, but it was more of my alley than this one was. And I had a single by what's the girl's name, Kat Von D, in silver, so I would just grab that and use this palette and then use that as a silver, since I feel like that was what was lacking in this palette. But I like both these palettes. It's just those are my complaints when it came to these palettes. However, as you have heard, I still use these palettes because I have used these since the videos I have made. I think I used them like 2 or 3 more times since the videos I made doing, of course, palette mashups, because I love a good palette mashup. I have all these palettes. We need to use all these palettes, and thank goodness they're slowing down production on palettes, and in that way I don't have to rush so often and do so much. I was going to do another video like this with just all my holiday palettes in general. So if you all like this one, let me know if you're interested, and then we can do some more. I don't own that many Natasha Denona holiday palettes, so I would have to put her gold palette in with the rest of the palettes I own, because I got rid of the 2 mini palettes she had a million years ago, the cranberry one and then the Joya one, because they looked like colors that were similar to the sunrise palette that she came out with, so I didn't feel the need to keep them. But you know, anyway, now we're going to go to this year's palette, which is the Pat McGrath Labs Mothership Mega Celestial Divinity palette. Now, as you can see, this is a huge palette. Mother has never done anything this big. She always had small ones like that, or she had like the 10-pan palette for like $125, which is her signature. But this is what it looks like on the inside. And I know all the people who are true Pat McGrath stans were upset because this row right here, this is the row I was telling you about, though, that I felt like was really similar to that Metamorphosis palette she made. It wasn't a dark shade like this in there. If I remember correctly, I think this was the palette that had the silver in it instead of the Dark Star like I felt it should. And then this set is the other side of the Star Wars palette. So if you didn't get the Star Wars palettes like me, then you're happy to have this palette. But if you're a true Pat McGrath fanatic, then you probably feel some type of way, because you like, I hunted and made sure I caught them, and then she turns around and gives it to everybody in a palette in a different form at another time. So I'm sorry to those people, but I am excited for people like me who didn't get it, because in all fairness, some people logged into the site before they were supposed to and saw it at launch instead of waiting for the launch time like they were supposed to, bought it, and that's how I missed out on the Decadence palette. I don't know if that happened with the Star Wars miniature palettes, because they came out before the Decadence, but I know for sure when it came to the Decadence palette, people logged into the site and they had it up before they were supposed to, before she sent out the email, and they bought it, and that's how it sold out, and that's how I didn't get one. So it's like, for those people, it's like I kind of don't feel bad, because you know what time Pat McGrath launches, and you jumping up and buying it before everybody else, and then people not being able to get it when they're supposed to. It's kind of like, it's kind of karma for you if she came out with these shades after the fact and you cheated somebody else out of getting them and went ahead of time when you weren't supposed to. So sorry, not sorry. But I really like this palette, and I've done 3 looks with it if anyone's curious. So I did look with this side. I did look with this side. And I actually paired it with Jackie Ina's palette with ABH, because Morgan Turner, shout out to her again, she was talking about how it was a good palette to pair when I looked at them both side by side, I was like, yeah, it is. They look pretty similar. They have some similar shades. I think in the video I swatched so you all can see the similar shades that were in Pat's palette compared to that palette. As you can see, this palette's on the bed right now that I'm about to film with. So next I'm thinking about that pizza palette. I don't know, we'll see. But I like all the color stories in here, and I like the fact that it is separated, so it's like you can tell that this is Star Wars 1, you can tell these are all the new shades in the middle, and then you can tell that this is the other Star Wars palette. So I think it's curated very nicely. I think the color story is nice. However, I do have a problem with there only being like 3 mattes in this palette, but I feel like the average person does, because everybody seems to like to use a lot of mattes before they go into the shimmers. I am fine with only using like 1 or 2. I usually just use 1 to darken the outer V, and then I use 1 in the crease, and if I'm feeling extra, I might do a 3rd or a 4th one. But as a general, I usually just use 2. So I mean, like, I'm fine with there only being 3 in here, just because, you know, I don't use a whole bunch of mattes. If a palette has a whole bunch of mattes and I want to show you all a more intricate look, which is rare because y'all know I'm not big on that, but if it has more, then I will use more. But since this only has 3, it's like it has 2 darker ones I can use to pair with the rest of this stuff, and I can always bring in Jackie Ina's palette to pair with it. So I think this is a great addition to my Pat McGrath collection. It's getting quite extensive. I used to only buy her palettes when my birthday came, before I had a channel, so I only had, I think, like 2 or 3. I had bought the Mothership 1, of course, because y'all know I love me a good blue tone look. Then I had bought the Mothership 5 for my birthday 1 year. And, or did I buy that for a video? No, I think I bought it for my birthday 1 year. And then after that, I just had to start buying them, because the last 2 years I've had a YouTube channel. So this year for my birthday, I'm going to have to find some other stuff to buy because I've already bought all the Pat McGrath stuff to make sure I reviewed it for you all. So I don't know, but I definitely think if you are a Pat McGrath stan, you would love to have this in your collection. If you don't have the Star Wars ones, now if you already have the Star Wars ones, you might not want to buy this because you're only getting like 8 new shades, whereas the people who don't have it are getting all new shades. So that's just up to you. But those are my thoughts and comparisons on them. I do feel like the formula and that one is a little bit better than the formula in the 2018s, just so we're clear as well. I feel like the shimmer formula is a little bit better, but in all fairness, since it's a 2-year-old palette, they might not be performing the same as they used to. They still perform nice. It's just they don't perform. They're not as creamy and as nice as the ones in that one. But again, it's a 2-year-old palette. So I'm just glad it still performs at all because I barely scratched the surface of it, as you all saw. And those weren't cheap. Those were $65 a piece, just like her little shimmery quads that they have. So anyway, those are my thoughts on the Holiday Pat McGrath palettes. I will check in with you all a little later once I get my quads in the mail. So to be continued. Okay, y'all, so now on to the quads for the Pat McGrath. And I actually have 2 of the quads on my eyes now. So I'm going to start talking about the 2019 collection, which is the Blitz Astral Quads. This one is Ritualistic Rose. And this one is, of course, my all-time favorite one. Let me turn it the right way. Nocturnal Nirvana. Like this. Y'all know this one is my go-to. And when I open them up, you'll see why. But I have 2 of the 3 on my eyes right now. And I feel like you can tell I have the 2 purpley ones on my eyes right now. So these are the Celestial Divinity Luxe Quads. This is Interstellar Icon. This is Risque Rose. And then this one is Fleur Fantasia. So I'm going to open them up and show them. Then we're going to talk about how I feel like they compare. So I'm going to start off with my favorite one, of course, which is Nocturnal Nirvana. And look at this. Y'all already know why it's just #1, the best one ever. Look at it. It has my blue, it has my green, it has my purple, and then it gives me the gold to put in the inner corner after I use all these awesome shimmery shades. Now, this one is more of a satiny one, and this one is like a dual chrome shift. Like, see? It's green in the pan, but it's like when I look at it, it's purple, but when you look, yeah, right there. See what I'm saying? Like, it's purple in the lighting, but when I look at it, it's regularly, it's green. So this one is just simply gorgeous because it has that purple to green shift, and it's just everything. Like, this palette is absolutely amazing. I just got finished ranking my all my holiday palettes in my collection from 2017 to 2019. Obviously, I'm gonna do 2020 on their own, but this one was quite high up there because it's just, to me, it's just a staple that you have to have. Like, if you own any matte, like those Busy Art matte palettes, if you own any, I feel like this is basically the perfect shimmer for you to put with them, along with the Koi palette. Now, the Koi palette is absolutely amazing from them, but like, if you just wanted to have a simple quad to put with their matte shadows, I would definitely recommend you go out and get one of these quads. Absolutely wonderful, stunning. And this one is Ritualistic Rose, and this one I did not like as much, but I like this one compared to the other 2 they came out with, because they first came out with Nocturnal Nirvana with the amazing colors, and then they came out with that boring one with the brown and the red and like the gold or whatever, and I think it had like a champagne-y shade too or something. I forgot exactly what was in it because it was my color story at all. But this one was more of my alley. She came out with this as a 3rd one after the fact. So it's like a little sneak surprise. Gotcha, bitches. Like, thought you only gonna buy 2, you gonna buy 3 thing. But this time she was just up front with us and just gave us all 3. She's like, look, here, sis. Just take them all. And I was like, yes, ma'am. Thank you so much. But yeah, this one is simply gorgeous. I paired this one with a, what palette is that? I paired it with a Busy Art palette as well. So I feel like these are really good for me to compare with my all matte palettes. It gives me inspiration and reason to use them. That's why I like having all matte palettes. So that way you can grab all shimmer palettes to go with them. And then, you know, that justifies you having these pieces. So these 2 are absolutely stunning, amazing. They are one of my all-time favorite holiday collection things I have ever bought. But let's look at the new ones that recently came out. So we're going to start off with, of course, the one with the blue in it, the Interstellar Icon. That's this one right here. That's what it looks like on the inside. Now, there is a repeat shade in this one. This Blue Blood shade is in the Decadence palette. And then that little mini Decadence palette she made, like this, I think she had a subversive one with the more colorful shades in it, including this one and the Lapis Luxury, which is my personal favorite shade in that palette, along with some other ones. And then they had a more neutrally colored one for the people who want the neutrals out of that palette. So I actually have the shade Blue Blood like 3 times, because I have the Decadence palette, then I have this, and then I have one of those mini ones before she had came out with the Decadence palette again in order for me to get it, which is fine by me. You know, like, the more the merrier. I'm totally fine with it. It's okay. So that's what the first one looks like. This has a shift in it. I'll try to hold the mirror so you can see. Yeah, you can see it's purple right there, but when you pull it back up, it just looks like it's a blue shade. So with these, I actually really like this bronzy shade, just because you can see a lot of was it green glitters in here that makes it really nice. That shade is called Divine Dahlia, but it's actually really nice shades. And if you have the original Mothership palette, the very first one, I feel like this palette would pair awesome with it, because that blue shade that's in there is just a simple classic blue. You can easily top it with this shade right here to give it that extra oomph and pop. And if you want to use like the more bronzier cool tone shades in there, you can use this one to give it a pop, or like any of these to give that palette a pop. I feel like this is best paired with the Mothership 1 palette, if anybody cares. Not that it won't pair well with other things. Like, I think it'll pair well with the Dark Star palette as well. So you have the Dark Star palette from the 2019 collection, which you can put the mini 6-pan palettes. I would definitely recommend that you try with that as well. It's really, really nice. The next one is the Risque Rose. That's this eye right here. Pop it out so you can see what it looks like. And the difference between these, obviously, is these have mattes in them, and the Blitz Quads obviously don't. Those are the special shades. These are just a mixture of shades. Like, she's hearing people say they want more mattes, so she made sure she put 2 mattes in this palette. To me, this is the best curated palette. I felt like I was easiest to make an eye look for me and my skin tone with this palette in particular, because you got the darker brown to put on the outer V. You have this nice fuchsia shade to brush into your crease, and you have these 2 shimmers. Like, this is the inner corner shimmer, and then this is the one I have on my lid. Let me get close so you can see. So see, it just has all these special glitters, and this is actually a new formula. It's like a more moussey texture, but at the same time, when you put it on, it feels like a topper shade when you swatch it. But then when you get a natural hair brush and put it on the lid, it does wonders. As you can see, my eye looks quite nice. I wanted to do the other eye with this one, but it's like I still had to use the third one that we're going to talk about. So this is my favorite out of them. And then my second favorite would be the Interstellar Icon. And I'm going to make sure I do a look with the Mothership 1 with that one in the palette mashup, so you all can see what I'm talking about, because I really like, you know, that a lot. The last one I have is Florida Fantasy. Now, you cannot get this one on Sephora. You can only get this one on Pat McGrath's website as of right now. So, if you want it, that's where you're going to have to go. And that's what's on this eye right here. So, with this one, this is my least favorite out of them, just because I feel like, I don't know, I don't feel like it comes as hard as the other ones do. But I always feel like there's like one she comes out with that I don't like as much as other ones. Like I told y'all with the ones for last year with the Blitz Quads, she came out with that more neutrally toned one that I didn't really like. But see, this shade doesn't work for me at all. It's quite ashy. It's like one of those super light peachy tones that I have to dust over something. I actually dusted over something else, and I used the Rose Decadent palette with this palette, since this is the only matte in here, and it doesn't necessarily work for anyone my skin tone. But this seems to be like a peachy pink shift. I'll try to show it in camera. See, like it looks peachy right there. When I show it to you forward, it's pink. Then it has this simple like champagne looking gold shade, and this dual chromey shade, which is what's on my lid right now. So as you can see, I actually have this one underneath there, and then I put this one on top. This one reminds me of Fuchsia Flame in the Rose Decadence palette. They're not exactly the same because I swatched them side by side. You all will see this video tomorrow with all 3 of these quads in it. It's going to be long as hell. It was like 45 minutes. When I got done, I was like, oh, Jesus. But I did swatch comparisons of a couple of other ones to go along with the Interstellar Icon, because I know a couple of other brands came out with color stories that are similar, and since I owned them, I figured we got swatch them all side by side to get an idea. So I did do that. But yeah, and then I found like a dual chrome from an indie brand that looks the same shade as this color. So I was like, okay, that looks good. So I got some interesting swatches for you all. And then, of course, y'all know I do all the swatches on IG. So I'm going to swatch these compared to the Mothership palettes and special shades and whatnot, probably Sunday. So you can look for that to come up Sunday, even though this video is going to go, even though the video for these quads is going to go up Saturday. So how do I compare these to the ones from 2019? I definitely like the ones from 2019 better. I just feel like they have like more of a shimmer and a pop and a power in your face. I feel like This is nice. When you come up close, it gives that nice bam pow. But it's like, I feel like with my Nocturnal Nirvana, you can see this when I'm coming 5 miles away. Like, it's just that shimmery, sparkling extra. But that's why I'm assuming these are more than these, because this one is only 58, whereas this one is 65, because it's all the special shades in one. I absolutely love the special shades. Now, I know there are other girls that say you can buy the special shades from indie brands and all that, but it's like, I'm just going to stick to buying the one from Pat McGrath. I might eventually try some from an indie brand another day, as far as, you know, that's concerned. But since I'm more of a luxury makeup owner, I'd rather just buy the Pat McGrath ones, to be perfectly honest. Like, I know there are people like, Karen Harris's friend, what's her name? Amy Loves Makeup. She compared some singles she had bought from an indie brand to my favorite palette, which is the Nocturnal Nirvana. She said that she felt the shades were exactly the same, but it's like, I could tell the differences in the shades when she put them on her eyes and when she had showed the quad before she even said, because it's like, if you're a true Pat McGrath person, you know when you see Mother versus when you see something else. So it's like, I knew they weren't the same, but it was like, they were a nice little, you know, similarity if you can't afford the Pat McGrath one. So I mean, like, I saw what she's trying to do, and I can definitely appreciate it, but it's like, don't come from Mother. Don't do it. Thank you so much. But yeah, so I like these quads. Okay, I like them in this order though. Like, these are my favorite. I like this one the best, then this one will be in the middle, and this one will be last. And of course, we already know with these, Nocturnal Nirvana is king, and Ritualistic Rose is second. So when it comes to the quads, I definitely picked the ones from 2019 over the ones from 2020. Not that the ones from 2020 are bad. It's just they don't have any, I feel like they don't have any special shades in it besides the one that's in this palette with the new formula. Otherwise, it's just kind of like, you know, they're okay. I mean, they're just, because she started off with these as opposed to these and then worked us up to these, it's kind of just like, they're okay. But it's like, since I have these, it's like I know you can give me like amazing stuff, and to me those are just, you know, okay compared to this. Now they're true Pat McGrath quality, so they're gonna be fine and they're gonna work exactly the way they're supposed to. It's just more of, you know, since I have these, I will use these any day over necessarily using these. But I'm going to put these to work in videos in the future. Like, y'all going to see palette mashups with these, so look for it. Y'all going to see maybe a palette mashup between the two of these, because I think that'd be a good idea, between the two of these. And then you're going to see me mash this up with the, what do you call that palette? The Mothership one. Like I said, I feel like this palette would actually go pretty well with the Mothership 3 too, because this lighter shade that's on my lid, I feel like it'd be a good topper on top of the special shade in that palette. Or I might pair it up with the mini La Vie en Rose and see how that goes. So I got ideas for these quads, and they will definitely get used. It's just more of, I prefer 2019 over 2020. But I feel like everybody does, just the year in general. It's just been a whole horrible hot ass mess. I know they're closing down the bars in Chicago again. They're starting to say you can't buy alcohol, I think, after 9 o'clock here in Chicago. So we're getting put back to phase 3 basically. And so it's about to be a long winter. But anyway, I hope this was a helpful video for you as far as like my preferences on it. I just thought it'd be something fun to do, since I do own a lot of Pat McGrath, and I figure some people might be interested in my opinion, because when I do Pat McGrath, you see me like to watch a lot. So I figured I had the stuff, we could try it out. Plus, it was just something I wanted to do in general. So I'm hoping you enjoy. I hope you all enjoyed this video. I hope it was helpful. Remember, you all are diamonds. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye.